After 17 years, the maid discovered an incredible secret that transformed the billionaire's son. Maria's heart raced as she delicately opened the aged attic door, dust swirling like ghosts from the past. The Kline mansion loomed large around her, filled with lavish furniture and priceless art, a world she had served faithfully for over half her life. Yet today, in this forgotten corner, she felt the weight of her own life's struggles, bills, dreams for her son Juan, and the ever-present fear that the world would swallow him whole. The attic was a quiet sanctuary, stacked high with memories. As she sifted through the forgotten relics, her fingers brushed against the leather-bound journal. Its spine cracked and faded. Curiosity compelled her to open it. What she read shattered her perception of the Kline family dark deals with powerful figures that had taken advantage of their own community, enriching themselves at the cost of others like her. It felt like a punch to her gut, the very foundation of her loyalty trembling beneath her. With every passing day, the annual community barbecue approached, a festive gathering where neighbors mingled and laughter echoed beneath the summer sun. But for Maria, it felt more like a countdown, a reminder of the chasm between her life and the opulence surrounding her. And then there was Juan, her precious son, struggling in a world that whispered temptations of crime and despair. She couldn't let him fall into that darkness. He deserved better. As she cleaned the Kline children's rooms, she caught glimpses of Ethan, their eldest son, who seemed to peel himself away from his family's superficial bliss. They shared fleeting conversations, moments where they opened up about their fears and dreams. Each time they connected, an invisible bond formed between them, strengthened by their shared weight of expectations. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the barbecue drew closer, anxiety coiled tighter around Maria's chest. The shimmer of the event promised joy, but it seemed like a fragile veneer hiding rifts in both families. What would happen if the truth about the Kline wealth surfaced? Would she risk everything to unveil the darkness behind the laughter? The sun shone bright on the day of the barbecue. Neighbors gathered, plates piled high with food. Yet Maria couldn't shake the feeling of impending confrontation. Their eyes met as she fought through the crowd, Ethan standing at the precipice, burdened with the weight of his lineage. Would he reach out, question everything they discovered together? A hush fell upon the crowd, but the tension sizzled in the air. They all stood poised at the edge of revelation, histories about to collide. Maria's heart raced as she realized the fate of her family rested on the precipice, leading to one unimaginable choice: would they find the courage to challenge the wrongs, or would silence suffocate them all? The breeze carried an anxious whisper, and in that moment, Maria felt the shift of change approaching, her heart pounding with the promise of something greater. The next chapter of her life loomed, and the echoes of truth and loyalty began to collide. Maria stepped into the vibrant chaos of the barbecue, her heart pounding like a drum. The sounds of laughter and sizzling grills wrapped around her, but the heat of the summer sun felt like a spotlight on her fears. Each familiar face around her smiling, carefree, made her feel even more like an outsider in their world. As she moved through the crowd, she caught sight of Ethan again, standing in the shade of a large oak tree. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, the noise faded, leaving just the two of them locked in an unspoken understanding. Maria felt a shift in the air, a potential crossroads that could redefine everything. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping closer. There was a flicker of concern in his gaze, shades of their shared burdens evident between them. "I'm processing," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. How could she explain the storm raging inside her? The weight of his family's secrets threatened to bury her, and yet here stood the only person who understood, yet remained so deeply entrenched in the very world she wanted to expose around them. The laughter seemed hollow, the barbecue of festivity draped over an undercurrent of deception. Maria's mind raced. What if this event was the arena for change? What if she could unveil the truth, freeing not only her family but also Ethan from the gilded chains of a legacy built on the backs of others? Suddenly, the crowd erupted into cheers as the youngest Kline, a chirpy girl with curls bouncing, brought out the cake, a gigantic confection adorned with sparklers. Maria felt a jolt of familiarity. In her own humble home, she had celebrated little joys like this. Yet today, it unraveled beneath her, reminding her of the chasm that separated their worlds. "Let us get some food," Ethan suggested suddenly, breaking the weighty silence. It was a simple invitation, yet it seemed monumental. They made their way to the buffet, Maria's mind racing as she passed platters of grilled chicken and vibrant salads. "Have you ever thought about what this all means?" she asked, her voice steadying. "The parties, the money, the people who get hurt along the way?" Ethan's expression shifted, caught off guard. "It's easy to overlook that stuff when everything's handed to you. But I have thought about it. A lot." There it was, the crack in his facade. Could this be the moment she had been waiting for? As they piled their plates, a sudden shout pierced the cheerful atmosphere. A rival family known for their rivalry with the Klines had arrived, with shadows clinging to their reputation. Tension unwound like a spring, palpable and unsettling. Not now, not here, Maria thought, her pulse quickening again. The underlying danger could threaten not just the Klines, but everyone present. What if open conflict erupted? How could she keep one safe? Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze locked on the newcomers, the flicker of worry in his eyes undeniable. "Things could get messy," he murmured. "We should be prepared for anything." His words hung in the air between them, charged with a dual meaning. If they joined forces to unearth the truth, would it inevitably lead to chaos? Before Maria could answer, the rival family's patriarch boomed across the yard, taunting the Klines with accusations that twisted rumors into weapons. Her heart thudded louder each second, drowning out the laughter. "Together we can change this," she finally urged, meeting Ethan's eyes. "But it means risking everything." A flicker of determination ignited within him, but the fear of reprisal was evident on his face. "What if we lose everything in the process? Are we not already losing? Look around. We owe it to ourselves, to our families, to fight back." As the reality of her words settled, Maria recognized the path lay before them, bright yet fraught with peril. Would they muster the courage to challenge the oppressive shadows that loomed over them? They stood on the precipice of their decision, the crowd swirling around them oblivious, in a world where their voices bore the weight of change. And just as the last ray of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Maria felt the first tremor of resolve course through her. Would the truth finally break free, or would fear hold it captive once more? Behind them, the conflict erupted, and as chaos unfolded, they realized this was just the beginning. Maria's heart raced as the chaos erupted behind her. Shouts mingled with laughter, creating a jarring symphony even the crackling grills couldn't drown out. Ethan shifted closer, urgency flickering in his eyes. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice a harsh whisper. "Do we stand here, or do we face it?" She searched his face, hoping to find the resolve she was beginning to feel bloom in her chest. The sound of a glass breaking somewhere in the distance made her flinch. "Facing it might only make things worse," Ethan said, glancing back at the crowd, his brow furrowing. The tension in the air felt like static, each angry word tossed about like a grenade. A tall figure from the rival family launched insults, each syllable dripping with disdain for the Klines. Maria felt the weight of his voice, the venom in his tone. It wasn't just words. It was a battle cry. "Do you hear that?" Maria whispered, a wild notion taking root in her mind. This could be our chance to rally everyone, to make them see. Ethan caught her gaze, the gears visibly turning behind his eyes. "You think if we put our heads together we can get people to listen? Why not? If they see we're united, they might stop long enough to hear what we have to say. If we could expose the truth behind all this." The spark of determination surprised both of them, igniting a flicker of hope against the roiling backdrop of rage. They dared not waste it. Suddenly, Maria stepped back, her heart slamming against her ribs. But what about Juan? She murmured, the name slipping out before she could catch it. The innocent laughter of the children nearby sounded like a cruel reminder of the stakes. "He'll be okay. We'll keep him away from the fight," Ethan assured, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. It was a gesture that connected them, grounding her amidst the turmoil. "Okay." She nodded, steeling herself for the moment. "Let us do this then." They moved toward the heart of the chaos. Each step felt like wading through thick mud, heavy and daunting. As they approached the clamor, Maria couldn't help but scan the faces around her. Friends, enemies, everyone was mashed together, their stories tangled. "Hey!" she yelled, her voice surprisingly strong among the crowd. Heads turned, surprised, curious. "Listen, this fighting isn't what any of us came here for. We need to remember why we're together tonight." There was a murmur, a flicker of recognition as people began to recognize her. Ethan moved beside her, his presence a steadying force. "This isn't about us or the histories our families built. It's about what we're willing to fight for now," he added, his words wrapping around Maria's like a lifeline. The patriarch paused, irritated, momentarily halted by the unity in front of him. "What do you know about it, huh?" he barked. "My family has suffered for years under the weight of all this," Maria shouted, the emotion spilling out with conviction. "And I know many of you have too. Aren't we tired of battling each other?" A ripple of surprise washed over the crowd. Whispers drifted softly, settling into murmurs of agreement. For a brief moment it felt like they had broken through the tension. If only just. What if we chose to empower each other instead? Ethan interjected, his strong voice holding every ear captive now. A murmur began to grow louder, hope grasping at hearts like summer light. Felt electric. People glanced at one another, and there was uncertainty, but also curiosity, maybe even a flicker of resolve. Just as Maria thought they might be turning a corner, the patriarch unleashed a furious retort. "You? A maid's daughter? What do you know about power?" Ethan stepped protectively in front of her, and for a heartbeat, Maria felt warmth in the hope that they could truly confront this together. But then, amidst the crowd's rising chatter, an unexpected voice piped up. An older woman from the Kline family, someone known for her gentility and silence, stepped forward. "Maybe she has more power than we realize." The crowd fell silent, and all eyes turned to her. It was the opening Maria had hoped for, revealing cracks in the facade that seemed to bind them all. "Maybe that's what we've been missing," Maria ventured cautiously. "A willingness to understand what binds us, not what divides us." As the words hung there, something shifted in the atmosphere. A breeze stirred, carrying the scent of grilled meat far away, and suddenly another voice called out behind her. "Together, we can turn this around. It's time to break the cycle." What would happen next felt monumental, and as the crowd began to respond, doubt began to creep back into her mind. Would they really stand together? Or would fear snuff this flame of hope out? Before she could dwell on it, Ethan squeezed her hand reassuringly as the uproar of voices flooded back, rising in a tide, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she dared to believe something real was happening. But what new alliances were being formed in the chaos, and at what cost would they come? Maria felt a familiar ache in the pit of her stomach as she realized the truth. This flame, once ignited, could burn in unexpected ways. The atmosphere shifted like a summer storm, the tension thick and charged. Maria's heart pounded, but she felt Ethan's grip on her hand grounding her. They had lit a spark, but would it burn brightly enough to illuminate a path forward? "Together we can turn this around," someone shouted again, igniting an echo of voices. Cheers mingled with ragged breaths, the crowd buzzing with a nervous energy. Maria's chest tightened with anticipation. Could they really do this? Ethan stepped forward, anger and determination flickering in his eyes. "We all have stories. We've all lived through pain because of this feud. But that pain doesn't have to be our end. It can be the beginning of something better." His words sliced through the tension like a knife, awakening something deep within the crowd. A mix of frustration and hope flooded the faces turned toward them. Maria noticed a few people nodding, their eyes reflecting an exhausted understanding. However, resistance stirred in the shadows. The patriarch glared at Ethan, contempt spilling from his lips. "You dare speak like you've got the wisdom to save us all? A child of a maid teaching us about power?" His voice dripped with derision, but Maria saw doubt flicker behind his bravado. "Enough!" shouted a man from the back, someone Maria remembered seeing at family gatherings. He had always been quiet, but now his voice was strong. "She speaks the truth. We've wasted too many years hating each other, suffering because of old grudges. Let us be real. Many of us know we've lost too much already." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. Conversations bloomed, questions hanging heavy in the air. What if their unity could alter everything? What if this truly was the moment they could embrace healing instead of hate? In that pivotal instant, Maria felt something shift within her. For years she had been labeled just a maid's daughter. But today, she was blossoming into something more. "If we keep fighting," she said, her voice breaking through the murmurs, "then nothing will change. Aren't we, the future generations, worth more than a battle that started before we were even born?" The unexpected vulnerability in her words seemed to resonate deep within the assembled crowd. A feeling of solidarity began to blossom, breaking through the defenses they had built for so long. The patriarch scoffed again, but Maria noticed the way his jaw clenched, the way his grip on the podium tightened. "Why are we here? To rekindle the flames of hatred?" she continued, stepping further into the fray. "Or to forge a new legacy? Let us teach our children the power of unity instead." Ethan nodded beside her, his resolve unwavering. "We can use our voices together. The real power doesn't lie in bloodlines. It lies in our choices moving forward." Just as the crowd began murmuring with renewed energy, a piercing scream cut through the air, silencing the gathering. Panic erupted as people turned, shouts blending into confusion. "Juan!" Maria's heart sank as she caught sight of her younger brother, his small frame lost in the tumult near a group of older boys who were pushing and shoving. "Stay back!" she yelled, anxiety spiking. She rushed forward, her instincts kicking in as she fought against the thrumming chaos around her. Ethan was at her side instantly, eyes wide. "I'll get him," he shouted over the chaos, but Maria couldn't let him go alone. They pushed their way through the throngs of bodies, her heart hammering as the crowd parted for them. "Juan!" she cried. There he was, trapped between two much bigger boys, his face a mask of fear. The fear gripping Maria's heart twisted harshly. "Let him go," she shouted, but it was drowned out by the pounding noise of the crowd. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her arm. It was one of the other Klines, a cousin she barely knew. "We need to help," he insisted, urgency in his eyes. And in that moment, they were all gathered, fighting against the tide to pull one small child out. But just as hope surged, the patriarch's laughter rang out, chilling the warmth they had kindled. "This is what you call power?" he taunted, his cruel voice slicing through her resolve. That was it. They needed to unite, but first they had to save Juan. Could they break free from this cycle of fear just as they fought for hope? Maria's breath quickened. She had to believe, but as tensions reached the boiling point, uncertainty crept back in. Would family loyalty give way to something brighter, or would they all be pulled back into the darkness? Maria pushed her way through the chaos, each frantic heartbeat a reminder of how precious time slipped away. The crowd was alive with confusion, emotions churning like a stormy sea. She locked eyes with Juan, and her heart shattered just a little more. His small, trembling figure was like a beacon through the throng, fear etched across his young face. "Hold on, buddy. I'm coming," she shouted, forcing a way forward. Ethan followed closely, his determination palpable. "We're right here, Juan," he called, trying to cut through the noise. But the bigger boys stayed firm, shoving Juan back against the rough wall of a low alleyway. Panic laced the air, and the patriarch's mocking laughter echoed in Maria's ears like a dark shadow. She had to act quickly. "Think," Maria thought, her mind racing. "If they could just get enough people to stand with them. We need everyone. She shouted again, struggling to keep her voice steady. If you want change, show it now. Help us. She didn't know if her words would reach them as chaos swirled, but a flicker of a reaction caught her eye. A few familiar faces turned their gazes toward her, their expressions more curious than hostile. Was it possible? Could fear and anger transform into compassion? Unite. Look at this. She pleaded furiously, gesturing toward Juan. This isn't why we're here. This is exactly the battle they want. It's time to step forward. Ethan stepped to her side, voice strong. We've all lost something. Let us not lose him too. Suddenly, an older woman, someone Maria recognized from family dinners, stepped forward. I've watched both families tear each other apart, she remarked, voice steady. We can't allow this to continue. Not like this. Her resolve ignited a spark within the crowd. Let him go, a man shouted from the periphery. His presence breathed courage into the moment as he fought against the push of the crowd toward Juan. We are stronger together. Boosted by the collective voice, more people began weaving through the throng. Families were stepping in front of each other, eyes now glaring at the bullies rather than each other. The dynamics were shifting. Politics were no longer enough to bind them in hostility. Maria saw the bullies waver, their bravado faltering as they felt the weight of the gathering no longer just a feud but a united front. She heard Juan's soft whimpers, but the more voices that rose, the clearer the way became. Juan, we're almost there. Just hold on, she cried, her voice breaking over the rising chorus. Each step forward was filled with pain and hope, each push a testament to resilience. Finally, they tore through the last cluster of bodies, and Maria reached for Juan, pulling him close. His small body fit into her arms like a missing puzzle piece, trembling and alive, and she squeezed him tightly. They were a family, and these were her people. Juan looked up at her, confusion mingling with relief. Maria, I was scared. His voice wobbled, and she felt the tears pooling as she brushed his hair back tenderly. I know, but you're safe now. We're safe. She held him tight, suddenly feeling a surge of power swelling within her, igniting that fragile flame of hope. Then she faced the crowd, adrenaline flowing like a river through her veins. Look at us. This is what we can do when we stop being divided. We are not the hatred of our past. We are the promise of our future. The atmosphere forged a path of new energy as nods of agreement swirled like a fresh breeze. As those words settled in, a gentle strength began to ripple through the crowd. Yet through this moment of fragile victory, a darker thought lurked. Maria saw the patriarch's eyes cold and calculating as he surveyed the crowd. What if his grip on their past wasn't as loose as it appeared? What if this was just the beginning, not the end? Together, she whispered to Ethan, her hand still gripping Juan. What if it all hinges on this moment? The unsettling thought lingered like a dark cloud overhead, looming ominously. Just as Maria turned to address the crowd again, a guttural laugh erupted from behind her. Chill shot through her. Together? How lovely. But don't be fooled. I will not allow you to just surrender the legacy built on years of power. What would become of them now? Maria's heart sank at the sound of that laughter. A deep, rasping voice that carried an unsettling weight. She turned slowly, steeling herself against the icy dread creeping up her spine. The patriarch stood tall, an imposing figure cloaked in an air of disdain, his smirk a poisonous reminder of the power he wielded. Look around you, he continued, stepping closer, the mocking glint in his eyes sharpening. You think a few heartfelt words will change everything? This is your home. Your families have built a legacy, and I will defend it. The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers darting through the air like restless specters. Maria felt Juan clutch tighter to her. She wished she could shield him from the venomous atmosphere, but now it was more important than ever to stand firm. No, Maria shouted, her voice shooting through the murmurings. We are done living in fear of this legacy fueled by hate. We are here to create a new story, one where every one of us matters. But the patriarch scoffed. What do you know of legacy, girl? You've always been the outsider. What can you possibly change? Ethan stepped in front of Maria, fists clenched. "You'll see. We're not backing down. Not now. Not ever." His voice boomed, echoing against the walls of the alley, igniting a buzz of courage within the crowd. A ripple of determination spread as faces softened, their gazes rising from the ground to meet one another, finding courage in their shared fears. The older woman who had spoken earlier raised her voice again. "This legacy you cling to has only brought sorrow. We choose to abandon this cycle of pain." The patriarch's sneer faltered. Confusion etched across his face for the briefest of moments. Maria could feel that confusion elongate into a less certain grip on the crowd. The air vibrated with an electric promise. Could this actually be happening? "Together we can make it better," someone shouted. The chant began to build, voices overlapping with frustration and fervor. Together, together. Each time the word rang out, it thundered deeper into the hearts of those who had come, unifying them against the desolation they had collectively faced for too long. Hope blossomed, vulnerable yet fierce, growing in the spaces once filled with despair. But amidst the euphoria, Maria couldn't shake the thought of the patriarch's eyes, deadly and calculating. What would he do now, watching his facade crack? She sensed he wouldn't just walk away quietly. Suddenly, the air was filled with the sound of heavy footsteps. A group of men emerged behind the patriarch, arms crossed and eyes narrowed, fully prepared to protect their master. Maria's heart dropped. The patriarch wasn't just a voice. He was the threat made flesh. "Is this how you want it?" The patriarch spat. "You think power lies in your unity? It lies in blood, in loyalty, and the bloodlines I have forged will not bow to your fleeting moment of passion. You're fools to think you can change anything." A tense silence enveloped them all, the kind of silence that fills a room just before a storm breaks loose. It felt as if the world paused, holding its breath in anticipation. It was a moment soaked in raw emotion, the air thick with anger and desperation, but also shimmered with an unshakable resolve. Maria took a step forward, heart thrumming in her chest, as she locked eyes with Juan. "This is our chance. Together," she urged, feeling the weight of all those gathered behind her. She raised her voice over the patriarch's thick disdain. He glared, unyielding. "I will not let you tear down what my family built." With clenched fists and eyes blazing, Maria stood her ground, determined to face the tempest that awaited them. But what was lurking in the shadows? Would fear rise again? Or could collective hope truly shift the tide? The patriarch's glare darkened. "You think this is just the beginning? You've only stirred the tip of an iceberg." The crowd tensed, uncertainty bleeding into their earlier courage. Just how deep did this battle run? Maria felt an icy grip around her heart. What storm had she just awakened? Maria could barely process the patriarch's chilling words. They hung in the air, thick and heavy, wrapping around her like a cold shroud. Her stomach twisted as she scanned the faces in the crowd. The uncertainty flickered in their eyes, uncertainty that threatened to extinguish the newfound flame of hope. She could feel the tension building, like the moment before a storm unleashes its fury. "Stay strong," Ethan shouted, his voice booming, a reminder that they were not alone in this struggle. Maria's heart swelled slightly at his courage, but even that felt small against the enormity of the patriarch's threat. The patriarch stepped closer, his voice low and ominous. "You really believe that unity can protect you? This is not a fairy tale. You're risking everything. And for what? Illusion?" Maria's heart raced, a mixture of confusion and defiance surging within her. "You think we fear you? You think we'll crumble at the thought of your legacy? We are stronger together?" He interrupted, raising a brow, a mocking expression painted over his intimidating presence. "Together means nothing when you're built on lies and shattered dreams." The crowd shifted again. Maria clenched her fists. "No, our dreams are not shattered. We will stand for what is right. For our families. For each other." The murmurs dipped into a hush, then a soft voice broke through. "She's right," the older woman said again, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "We've endured too much pain. This is our moment to choose a new path, to reclaim our home from this tyrant. The patriarch's smirk faded slightly. For the first time, doubt flitted across his eyes, revealing a crack in his resilient facade. Your path? He laughed, his voice dripping with disdain. What do you know about paths or futures? Your lives are dictated by unbreakable bloodlines. What you call unbreakable, we call it chains, shouted Juan, his voice echoing through the narrow alley. Their memories do not define us anymore. In that moment, something shifted. Maria could feel a swell of energy rise through the crowd, electric and invigorating. It was as if their collective courage was building, a transformative force against the long reign of fear. But before it could fully crystallize, the patriarch unleashed a chilling laugh that pierced her newfound resolve. Fools, he spat. This is but a game, and the cards are stacked in my favor. You're nothing but pawns on a board, and you're about to discover just how powerless you truly are. Suddenly, his men moved closer, their shadows looming over the crowd. Maria's heart thudded, panic threatening to overtake her. We can't let fear silence us. What can they truly do? The crowd began to stir again, whispering among themselves. They looked at one another, finding courage in shared glances. Yet, the men's presence was an oppressive weight that threatened to break the fragile alliance they had built. Whatever happens, stand strong, Maria urged, desperation creasing her brow. We will face whatever he throws our way, together. But just as determination reignited and hope flickered, the patriarch's men began to advance, and Maria knew they had to act. She turned toward the crowd once more, feeling every heartbeat, every breath resonating with the same purpose. Stay true to your hearts, she implored. You are not alone. Do not let them divide us. In that decisive moment, just as the first of the men reached the front, a loud crash echoed from the alley's entrance, drawing everyone's attention. Gasps filled the air as the crowd turned in unison, hearts racing at the unexpected interruption. A figure stepped into view, their silhouette framed by the faint light spilling into the dark alley. Maria squinted, barely able to process who it was. Was it someone here to help, or yet another of the patriarch's allies? As tension thickened like fog, she could almost hear the heartbeat of the crowd sync with her own. But at that moment, she realized something vital. What if this stranger held the key to exposing the patriarch's fears? What if, in the midst of chaos, they could ignite the truth? The figure stepped closer, and as the shadows melted away, Maria's heart dropped. It was Sophia, a woman they thought long lost to the patriarch's tyranny. Her once bright eyes now shone with a fierce determination that Maria had only glimpsed in her own reflection moments before. Sophia was not alone. Behind her, a band of supporters emerged, faces marked with the scars of resistance and hope. The crowd buzzed with a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a spark igniting a long-dormant fire. Maria, Sophia called, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. We've found something. Something that can change everything. What is it? Maria pressed, her heart racing, anxiety and hope intertwining. Sophia took a deep breath, scanning the crowd before her gaze fell back on the patriarch, who was visibly enraged. We've uncovered documents, evidence of his crimes, the truth about how he built this empire. His power, it rests on lies, stories he crafted to control us. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. For the first time, the belief in change felt tangible. He has fed us fear to keep us in check, Sophia continued, stepping forward defiantly. But we have the proof to shatter his facade. We can show everyone that he isn't some invincible force, he is a coward hiding behind his throne of lies. Maria felt a surge of energy, pulsing through her like a current. Could it be true? This stranger and her newfound allies might actually hold the proof they needed to stand strong against a legacy of oppression. Show us, shouted Ethan, catching fire to the rising wave of hope. We will stand beside you. We're tired of bowing down. But the patriarch's malevolence twisted the air. You think documents will save you? He sneered, an icy chuckle escaping his lips. Those are mere papers. I control the fear in this town. You will always be just whispers, just pawns. This is nothing but a game, then let us play. Sophia interrupted, her voice trembling with passion. Let us prove to everyone how weak your foundation really is. Maria, we need you. Together, we can turn this moment into a movement. Maria's heart raced. The idea held weight. They weren't just a crowd anymore. They were a community ready to reclaim their voices. Suddenly, she was no longer afraid of the patriarch. She felt empowered, emboldened by the strength of those around her. Are you with us? Sophia raised her hands, urging everyone to come closer. The crowd stepped forward, their hearts aligned with a shared purpose, the shadows of intimidation melting away. They formed a unified front, a wall against the patriarch's looming threat. Faces she recognized nodded in affirmation. Families intertwined in a movement that was long overdue. But then, a loud commotion erupted near the alley entrance, jolting the atmosphere. The patriarch's guards began to push through the crowd, weapons drawn, faces twisted with malevolence. Enough! The patriarch shouted. This rebellion ends here. As the tension escalated, Maria felt herself torn between the fight that beckoned and the danger that loomed so close. What would they choose? Would they allow fear to wrap its claws around their ambition? Stay together, she shouted, rallying her newfound allies as the guards advanced. But at that pivotal moment, Maria's eyes landed on something glinting at Sophia's side, a key. Perhaps, in the midst of chaos and danger, could this signal their chance? Look out! Someone screamed as the guards made their move. Would this be the moment that determined everything? Would they rise or fall? Time slowed, and Maria felt the weight of destiny in her palms. Maria's heart thundered in her chest as chaos enveloped them. The guards charged, their faces masked with cold authority. She could feel the wave of fear creeping back in, but the sight of Sophia standing tall cut through the dread like a beacon. The key at Sophia's side shimmered even in the fading light, its purpose unclear yet somehow vital. Keep moving, Sophia urged, raising her voice over the din, rallying the crowd. And they did, stepping forward, an unstoppable force fueled by years of oppression and a newfound resolve to break free. Right here, right now, we stand, Maria shouted, echoing Sophia's determination. She could see the wavering conviction in some faces melting away into fierce resolve. They were ready to fight. The fear that once held them captive was morphing into something powerful, a wild energy that electrified the AI as the guards neared. Weaponry gleaming ominously, Maria grabbed Sophia's arm. What's the key for? She asked, breathless, knowing there had to be more to it. Sophia's eyes darted to her before answering, urgency lacing her words. It's a key to the archives where the evidence is locked away. If we can reach it, her voice trailed off, but they both understood. This was their chance. Let us go, Maria urged, determination flooding her veins. With a quick nod, Sophia led the way, darting through the crowd as they split, creating an opening while the guards were momentarily distracted by the chaos. The air crackled with tension, people chanting, crying, and standing their ground. Back off, a man yelled, standing defiantly against a guard. Others joined him, creating a lengthening wall of resistance, faces young and old, united with a single aim. For the first time, the patriarch's grip seemed to waver. Maria and Sophia ducked into a narrow passage, the familiar sense of the old town enveloping them. Bricks were damp, echoing the footsteps of their urgency. Do you remember this place? Sophia asked, her voice lingering with nostalgia. We used to play here, dreaming of freedom. Maria smiled softly, the memory bringing warmth to her heart. And now it's our battlefield. They dashed toward the town archives, the landscape of their childhood redefined as a cradle of rebellion. Each step felt heavier, laden with the hopes of many. An entire community forged in chains, now seeking liberation. As they approached the old, weathered door, Maria glanced over her shoulder. The echoes of chaos were a constant reminder of what was at stake. Stay close, Sophia said, inserting the key into the lock, turning it with shaky hands. The door creaked loudly, revealing a dark interior, dust dancing in the muted light pouring in from the crack. "Are you ready?" Maria steadied her breath, though uncertainty flickered in her chest. This was a leap into the unknown. "More than ever," Sophia replied, her eyes glimmering with a fierce light. With one final push, the door swung wide, and they stepped inside the unknown looming ominously. But the shadows held promises, secrets waiting to be unveiled. As the door latched quietly behind them, Maria's heart surged. What awaited them in this dim sanctuary might just change everything. The air was thick with history, yet alive with possibility, and just then, a loud bang echoed from the outside. The guards had found their trail. Time was running out. "Quick, we have to find the documents," Sophia urged, her gaze scanning the shelves brimming with file boxes. Would they uncover the truth in time to challenge the patriarch? Would the secrets within those walls ignite the rebellion they so desperately needed? The walls felt like they were closing in. Would this sanctuary be their salvation or their end? As Sophia rifled through the dusty archives, Maria felt the weight of urgency press against her. The sound of chaos outside sent shudders through her. The guards were closing in. Every muffled shout echoed her resolve. "We must find them," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. Sophia nodded, her fingers flying over the crumbling papers and yellowed files. Then, as if wave after wave of pressure had converged into a single moment, a small binder fell from a shelf onto the floor with a loud thud. Maria gasped, her eyes widening at the sight. Could this be what they needed? They rushed toward it, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Maria snatched the binder up, its cover cracked and worn, but the words Kline Enterprises shone through the dust. "What's in it?" Sophia breathed, her own excitement mirroring Maria's. Maria opened it slowly, each page revealing contracts, transactions, and a slew of names connected to the patriarch's dark dealings, deals that stripped families of their land, paid off local officials, and profited from despair. Tears pricked Maria's eyes as she discovered documents telling truths that not only bound the Klines but crumbled the pillars of oppression beneath them. "This is it," she shouted, her voice suddenly ringing with clarity. "This can expose everything." Hope illuminated her heart as she felt the raw strength of truth flow through her. But just then, an echoing crash resonated against the walls. The guards were inside. "We need to hurry," Sophia urged, her voice urgent, snapping Maria back to the reality of their situation. They could hear the guards shouting, searching through the building, drawing closer. "Let us go," Maria said, clutching the binder tightly against her chest. They steered toward the back exit of the archives as footsteps thundered just outside. As they slipped through the narrow door that led to the alley, they barely had time to breathe. Outside, the chaos swelled, a shattered quilt of fear-induced screams against the backdrop of belligerent shouts from the patriarch's men. "Together," Maria called out, her voice raising in pitch above the unsettling clamor. She felt fear subside, her heart beating for the right reasons. "We have the proof. This is our chance." She rushed into the throng of people, holding the binder high. Sophia joined her side, radiating determination. "Listen," they both cried, their voices slicing through fear like a knife. Faces turned, confusion settling into curiosity. "We have the truth," Maria shouted, adrenaline propelling her words. "It's time to stand against the patriarch and reclaim our voices." Eyes widened as murmurs rippled through the crowd. A collective breath held as they began to realize that change was within their grasp. Ethan, fighting his way through the mass of bodies, reached them, his face determined. "What's going on?" Maria extended the binder towards him, the hope in her eyes mirrored in his. "Evidence," she urged. "We can defeat him." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Let us make it count. Together." Then, as the crowd listened, Maria could see hesitant faces begin to morph into fierce resolve. "He has held us in fear for too long," she shouted, and their spirits began to ignite. A kinship, a bond. People uniting, slowly rallying into a single, powerful voice. "No more." Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the patriarch emerge from the shadows, his imposing figure sending a shiver down her spine. "You fools!" he bellowed, the menace in his voice silencing the crowd again. You think you can change the course of history with just a few documents? You are simply pawns. No! Maria cried, her voice ringing louder, emboldened by the many souls gathered around her. You underestimate our power. We are not pawns. We are a future. We choose to fight for justice and truth. A restless energy surged, the crowd responding, the tide shifting. Their legacy is one of pain, but we can create a future laden with compassion. Ethan added, stepping beside Maria, firm and unwavering in the fight. The patriarch faltered for the first time, the sneer slipping from his face as the crowd began to chant, "Together, together." Each repetition formed a wave of unity, shattering the fear that had bound them for generations. The hearts of the people, powerful and defiant, wove together a tapestry of hope against his tyranny. And in that moment, as they pressed towards him, the energy culminated. We will not back down. We will confront the lies. Your reign of fear ends now, Maria declared, stepping forward to face him, her gaze unwavering. With fear replaced by resolve, Maria felt herself transforming in that moment. She was no longer just a maid's daughter, she was a leader, igniting a movement to reclaim their future. The patriarch's facade crumbled under the weight of their united voice. Suddenly, the ledger of lies he had built began to tremble. As he turned to retreat, a shout erupted from the crowd. "We are stronger together." Victory surged as Maria realized they had taken a decisive step. No longer would they be ruled by shadows of the past. As the chaos began to quiet, the raw strength of resilience and unity flooded her heart. It was more than just about the documents, it was about a new beginning, about truth changing the hearts of many. Together, they would reclaim their lives, their community, and ultimately, their future. Now, Maria proclaimed, looking into the sea of familiar faces, "Let us make this right." For the first time, she felt hope ignite around her, bright and relentless, an unstoppable force for change. This was what they had fought for, and for that they would battle until the very end. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and shape this community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this exhilarating ending. And for goodness sake, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to join in on this powerful journey.